Okay, so for this task, we are going to be drawing a glass. Okay, you can fill it with water, and for this you will need a ruler, a pencil, a rubber, and some good quality white paper. Okay, now in a similar way to how we drew the spoon, with this one it's really important that we consider the reflections in the glass, and in order to do that you really need to pay close attention to the different tones, so the dark, medium and light tones. So to start us off, I'm going to have my paper portrait so that I can fit a nice tall glass in here, and to start me off I'm going to draw a very light centre line down the middle of the page. Okay, just making sure you can see that. And now that I've got my centre line, I can really look closely at the ellipses of the glass. So I'm going to start at the top, and to make sure that my ellipses are nice and symmetrical and straight, I'm also going to have another line going across the way. Now my ellipse at the top, so basically your ellipses are, if I'm looking straight down at the glass, it's going to be a perfect circle. However, if I start moving away from the glass, that circle will start to become flatter and flatter, and eventually, if I'm right down eye level at the glass, it will be a straight line. So you need to look closely at your glass and find out how deep that ellipse is. So going back to this page here, my ellipse is really quite deep because my viewpoint is much higher than the glass. So I'm starting with this, and what these lines do is they help us to make sure that each quarter is the same. So I can see that this quarter here is slightly too curved, but all in all I'm relatively happy with that. So I'm doing lots of very fine lines, and then once I'm happier with it, I can then go in a little bit darker. Now once I've done that, I can then again use this centre line to help draw the rest of the glass. So I've chosen quite a complicated glass. You guys can pick one that's a little bit simpler if you like. Okay, so it curves down. I'm looking at that actually, and I think it's too long. So because my pencil lines are nice and light, I can go back in and adjust it relatively easy. And again, use the centre line to make sure that it's roughly the same width on either side. You want it to be symmetrical. Glasses are normally symmetrical. After that, we've got the stem of the glass down here. Again, I'm using my centre line to make sure that it's the same on both sides. And the ellipse down here is even more deeper than this one up here. And then we've got the base of the glass. Now again here, I'm going to use a centre line across the middle to help me draw this ellipse. Okay, now that I'm happy with that, I am going to rub out all my centre lines. Okay, next up, which I probably should have done when I had my centre lines, I'm going to add in the water level. So the water level should mirror the curve of the top ellipse of the glass. And then it curves round. So now we've got the water in it as well. Then going to start to add in some tone. So I'm going to look really carefully at the glass, and the light is bouncing off it in lots of different interesting ways, but I'm going to start off with the darkest tone first, and the darkest tone is on this side, but only up until the water line. So the water changes the tone as well. And remember, with the spoon observational drawing, we had our tonal gradient. You can refer back to that as well. So the darkest tone of the paper gradually getting lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So making sure that you get all those tones in if it has that much of a tonal contrast. Now you can see here that I am using my contour lines like what we've discussed in class before. So I'm following the shape of the glass, and what that does is it will exaggerate the three-dimensional aspect of the glass. Same again round here, so there's some interesting reflections. Some really interesting curves and angles. Now again, much like the spoon, if you feel like you've gone in too dark with your tone, don't worry. If you've got a rubber, you can take some of that tone away again. Now I'm quite happy with that. I need to do the top part of the water here, and it goes in quite a circular motion. So again, I'm going to start off with the dark tones, and there's a little break where the rim of the glass is, a little break in tone. And then it gets much more towards a medium tone in the middle here. Okay, so it's getting there. Next up is the stem down here. Now we've got some really nice shapes in here. Again, some strong highlights and some nice interesting dark tones following that ellipse shape. then I need to introduce some highlights back into this base because we've got some lovely strong highlights. So I'm going to use a rubber and just introduce them. And just check your drawing with the glass in case there's any more highlights or any darker tones that you need to add in. So there's a few highlights around the rim of the glass where the light is bouncing off it, and a few spots of highlights in the glass as well. So your task for this week is to do a tonal study of a glass with water in it.